Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we're playing as Kane. So another Monday, another hard mode, another MSEB daily, and we're kind of going in the right direction here. It was definitely one of those runs which really depended on the very first floor. We're Kane, right, and because of that, we do have quite lowish range. That's usually not that big of a problem, but some of these rooms can be quite nasty, like this big room with a lot of flies. If the enemy is kind of going in a certain direction, it can become impossible to dodge, or I wouldn't say impossible, but it can be kind of difficult to navigate if you don't maybe know where the enemies are because they're off screen. But also rooms like this one, which has like 12 gapers in it, and one of them is a champion one, and if you don't have a bomb to drop down or maybe use your Bob's Rotten Head, you can be in a heap of trouble, of course depending on how maybe the enemies split and maybe in which direction they should. But there was also one of those nasty rooms, if you just go left from the spawn directly, you would find the popcorn guys, and one of them was a champion version, and every time you would try to kill him, you would still have to hit him 3 more times in order to actually get him, otherwise he would just respawn. But the problem is every time he does respawn, he would spawn more enemies, and some of those enemies are big spiders, and of course those get split into small spiders, and they just have too much HP for my taste. And it can be one of those things which you really can't output enough DPS, at least not with the default stats, to get rid of them in time. So you're gonna be stuck in that room and probably gonna take a lot of damage, if not die, depending of course in which room, in which order you visit them in. So it does really depend. I feel like if you survive through the first floor, you're in for a pretty good time, but if you take a few wrong turns, then I feel like you're in a heap of trouble, and there's probably no way to escape, and you're gonna take a few hits of damage, and there's really nothing you can do about it. But if you do get through some of those first floors, you actually are awaited for a pretty good jump, because you get Tractor Beam, and that's just a good item on Kane in general, because not only does it increase your DPS, but also it does make your range a lot longer. But also with Shattered Bones, and it has a pretty good synergy, because every time your bone shatters and generates 2 more, both of those bones are still left in the tractor beam, and they actually travel alongside it. So essentially you just double your damage output. It also works with Bob's Rotten Head, and for some reason, not for some reason, but it also works with all of your familiars. And in this particular case, every time we split a shot with Multidimensional Baby, then we actually get 2 shots, but because they're basically right next to each other, because they're controlled by the beam, it becomes much easier to hit them. So it's one of those items which I think really benefits from just having a lot of different synergy effects. Like you can really output or increase your damage output just by having this item, and if you have something else as well. But even besides that, it's just one of those items which I think is generally a good get if you want to have a fun run. So as we're going through this, of course, I was kind of looking forward to maybe trying to get enough health so I could eventually, hopefully, get to a sacrifice room and play that to get to the dark room, but I wasn't kind of banking on it a bit too much. I was just mainly looking for health just so I had it in the contingency plan. You can see I'm sticking to the Hermit card here, and obviously I intend to use that on the mount floor. So I would go do boss rush, I would teleport out, and hopefully, maybe play a sacrifice room, or maybe hopefully get an Avil's rune, or maybe the shovel, and get some more points that way. But I don't think there was really a way to break the game. I think I explored pretty much every room there was to explore, and because the last floor was an XL floor, that allowed me to, I would say, be a bit more gracious with my time, and I could explore the entirety rest of the floors. I also think I found every secret room and second secret room, and I'm sure there are some shenanigans maybe in like the shops or whatever, but I didn't find an obvious way to go forward. And whenever that happens, I'm genuinely happy, because that means that you need to find other ways to really, I would say, capitalize on your points. And the one way I did that in this particular run, the entirety of the Necropolis XL floor was actually quite difficult, and it was just, I would say, some variations of rooms with champion enemies, and the fact we were rushing made me a bit careless, and I did take a bit too much damage. But also boss rush was one of those nasty variations that has spikes in the middle, and when an enemy spawns red poops everywhere, you really don't have a lot of room to maneuver. So if you get a bad wave, it's very easy to get hit. And that is exactly what happened a few times. But what I was kind of banking on here, there was a 3-pip dice room. And of course, if you use that, every single consumable in the entire floor gets rerolled. And because this is an XL floor, and I have 8 luck at this point, you can imagine I'm going to be getting a lot of consumables. So what I was doing is I just went through all of the rooms, I explored them the best I could, and basically left everything on the ground that wasn't a chest or a golden chest. I opened those up because, of course, you get more consumables that way. And now I plan on doing boss rush, I plan on getting out, I went to the 3-pip dice room, I rerolled everything. And one of those cards was the 2 of spades, and because I had Tarot Claw, that means I need 25 keys in order to hit my cap. And when I do that, of course, you can see I actually get 1200 points. From 25 keys to 99 is actually a pretty significant margin, and because we're going to, we're only going to Mama, we can only bank on getting something like 20,000 points, so getting that 1,000 extra points of difference is really gonna make, I would say, us rank much better in the end result. So this is exactly what happened. I used it, and because of it I ranked in the top 10, and it was one of those scores which I think was pretty decent. Obviously there were ways to I would say improve it a little bit more, like not taking as much damage and not taking as much items. For some reason I had a 1000 item penalty, which is unusual because I don't feel like I really picked up so many items in the whole run, but I guess this is just what happens when you're just having a really good run and when you're just trying to, I would say, get to the end. I also had 99 pennies and 38 bombs, so all in all I think my swag bonus was pretty decent, and the fact I managed to rank this well in a run relatively short is definitely something that's quite exciting. That doesn't really happen often in these short dailies. You always expect someone to find a seam or maybe go forward and get more points that way, but I'm glad we're in the position we are right now. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.